Hello and welcome back. I'm the Normal Player Guy, and you are my lovely, lovely audience. So, we have some fantastic news. We have two easy A's. One of them is the ever so much requested and needed transforming Vegeta. Brilliant. The other one we have is a rather respectable Super Vegeta, the one that crits against androids. Since we are most interested in transforming Vegeta, we'll just kick it off. Boy, is this needed? He looks pretty good. We'll run through it. So previously he did stack defense, and he did have a little bit of start and turn stats. He could be good. He dropped off a bit. If you did additional supers with him all the way through his stages, you possibly could have something respectable. But we are talking long game. So this guy still is realistically long game because he builds up quite a lot, but he does have more going for him. So a lot of this is largely the same, and I'll probably skip through a fair few of these. But so it starts off as he's a full 170% for Pure Saiyans. That's now like the third unit that we have, probably the third Vegeta that we have for 170% Pure Saiyans. And then Superclass is a good 130%. So if you have this guy and you don't quite have a Pure Saiyan team, then you could just certainly rock this guy. Right. So let's have a look at it. Let's just dive straight into it. So one thing of most to note is that he now greatly stacks defense. Prior, he just stacks defense, which is a 20% gain. This time round, you greatly stack defense, and of course, that is a 50% gain. That's already great. And then you'll have noticed on this as well is we are guaranteed an additional super attack, but we have 7 or more key spheres. So if you get the 7, so we have orb changes, but potentially, depending on how you do it, because he's physical, and because he's a pure Saiyan, you could have him alongside the physical god Goku, who's an orb changer, and depending how it goes, you could prioritize this guy. Just as an example. So we have 110% at the start of turn, but there are no key, so you might struggle. We have defense 30% on super attack, of which you get 50% from your super attack effect. So that's really good. You get a huge chunk, almost as much as your starting stats on super. 15% attack per key sphere obtained. So if you did get all 7, you'd be sitting on something ridiculous. What you'd be sitting on, it takes 4 to hit 60. It'd be 8. It'd be like a 100 something percent, it'd be like 115%. It'd be ridiculous. Great chance of converting, so that's 70% chance of changing SDR to physical. So he's an orb changer built in, so that helps a lot in order to get this. A great chance means you probably will see it more than ever. So that's basically it. So if you went for additionals, sure, right? Yeah, you could see that because you might not always get this, so additionals could be good. 7 orbs is a lot. A lot of other units that have come out that does require 7 orbs to do something, you'll probably find that 5 and 6 is the number you get often. So, yeah, greatly stacks. That's great. So, from the third turn, and then from every other turn thereafterwards, we transform. So here we get 120%, so it goes up by 10%. This goes up by 10%, and this goes up by a couple of percent. This is still a thing, and then this is still a thing. You still greatly stack, and you're going to greatly stack all the way through. However, it's not until you start hitting, I think, this, where, so you see here, launches additional super attack with 6 or more key spheres obtained. Now, the good news about this is, it's not just physical key spheres, right? You can use Rainbow as part of this, so it's not the worst, but this dropping to 6 makes it a world of difference. Again, while this hasn't changed, you do get a bit more attack, you do get a little bit more start of turn defense. So you greatly stack. You potentially could have another super attack, but every rotation, your start of turn stats go up incrementally, as well as the amount you get on super attack. And this time, we are guaranteed, by this point, we are guaranteed to have physical key spheres, right? So let's have a look. So now by the time we enter God mode, where a lot of his links change because we have stuff like warrior gods. So this time we now go to a more respectable 5 key spheres, right? We have a little bit more stats. You get 50% defense on super attack. You get 50% defense on super attack effect. Ultimately, by this point, you're essentially doubling your defensive value. And then this is quite a lot, because if you get 7 of these, that's like 175. That's 175% to attack. That's mental. This is now 5. Any 5 key spheres. By this point, I can imagine you're probably looking pretty good. And then finally, the coup de grace. What makes him a little better? He's a little better than the transforming Goku and Frieza, respectively. So here we go. So, because he does a little bit more. So you have 150% flat out. You still maintain this. So you can see we start off with 110. We gain 40% over 5 or 6 turns. No, it'd be like 7 or 8. You get this, but this time you greatly raise attack and defense for the turn. So by this point, you've been stacking and stacking, and you must prioritize him. And then at that point, you greatly stack attack and defense. So that's fine. You still get this, which is ridiculous. You now get 30% attack per key sphere, right? This is pretty ridiculous. However, this, in function with, when he hits this, he changes all key spheres to physical, and that's just once only, but that's just period, right? You're guaranteed a crit with pretty much the entire board. If you do that, imagine getting this. You have 30% attack times by 23. So you're going to have like 600% plus attack, and along with a guaranteed crit. That's absolutely bonkers. It's stupid. Of which, this is nice because I suppose it's a little add-on because he's not slowed down by STR units. So cool, yeah. That's not a problem. But you'll find that this combined with this, not only does it give you a full heal, but you'll have a ridiculous attack stat, right? And if you're double supered, wow, it's just going to be absolutely bonkers, right? Because, your additional super, while you wouldn't get the crit, you're still going to have like 700% to attack, right? It's going to be freakish. He's going to have a one-hitter quitter equivalent to like a finish skill, which is pretty bonkers. So in this particular form, yeah, he's fine. So to get to this, it does say from the next attacking turn from third to your third turn. So that will be essentially 5th turn, 7th turn, 9th turn. Wow, 9th turn is the best way to go for this. So, let's have a look at his links before we see his best friends. So, you would probably find then that long events like the Fighting Legend events are the way to go. Super Battle Road? No. You do greatly stack, and potentially you could have an additional, right? Or if this doesn't proc, you could have your hidden potential system. Sure. I can imagine at the first few phases, because you ain't going to get to this in Extreme Super Battle Road or Super Battle Road. You just aren't. Intense fightings, yes. Red Zone, possibly. Some of the later ones, they do have a few phases. It's possible to see this. But for the most part, you ain't going to see this guy unless you go in for the long haul. So anyway, we have Super Saiyan, Royal Lineage, Prodigies, Godly Power, Warrior Gods, Prepare for Battle, and Fierce Battle. Now, Royal Lineage, Prepare for Battle, probably something that you will see often. Super Saiyan, Fierce Battle, you'll see often. Godly Power and Warrior Gods is because he's in this particular form. Let's say we went to this, which is about turn 5. In this particular one, we still have Prepare for Battle, but we have Golden Warrior, which is a nice little bit of key, and Saiyan Pride, which is more attack, same as the rest. So depending on who you have in your team, you could have a blend. Most Vegetas will link together because you'll have like Royal Lineage and Prodigies, right? So you'll probably have that. That's really going good for them. 2 key, 5% attack at level 10 is pretty nuts. We're coming in with, 16 teams. Wow. Some of the more noticeable ones, we're talking like Rapid Growth, Mastered Evolution, Worthy Rivals, Heavenly Events, and Gifted Warriors. Hell, even Super Saiyan 2 enters the game. So, because there's a lot of good teams. A lot of these overlap. When we're talking like Gifted Warriors, Mastered Evolution, Worthy Rivals, they're all Vegeta, right? It's Vegeta and Piccolo, but in particular, it's Vegeta. So, of course, no surprise that the best friend is actually the more recent, brand new Easy A. We'll touch on him in a little moment. But again, all 7 links. good on 10 teams, but and again, worthy rivals, gifted warriors, Vegeta family, Mastered Evolution, Rapid Growth. They're some of the weaker ones that could be a really good combination. Because what we're getting plenty of key, we're getting plenty of attack, plenty of key here between these two. There's key here in Golden Warrior, but tons and tons of attack. 15, 30, so that's 50% attack. 70% attack, and then so on, and keeps going. So it could be really good. The key would be instrumental in this in particular because the guy doesn't have any flat out in his passive period. So coming in with like Royal Lineage and Golden Warrior could be huge. Royal Lineage giving you 2 key would basically mean then you'd only need 4 key to make it work. Obviously, if you prioritize the orbs, you probably wouldn't have too much of an issue. I just worry that 7 orbs or even 6 is perhaps difficult through shorter blast events. Would you run him? It's going to be very difficult. Honestly, it depends on his stats. Depends on the start of turn. Depends on these numbers, right? What he opens up with will give us a really good idea. By the time he enters the next attacking turn, there's a fair chance he's probably doubled his stats. But it all depends on how well those start of turns are. Because if you have a 100k start of turn, yeah, you go to 200, still going to get knocked down quite a bit. Pure Saiyan Vegeta, he's not a 170% lead, but he's a Pure Saiyan lead. All 7 links. Again, Royal Lineage coming in huge. Gifted Warriors, Rapid Growth, Mastered Evolution, worthy rivals could be really, really good. Some other worth of note, this guy's actually fairly solid as well. Got the same teams coming in. Evolution Blue Vegeta, who is the other 170% to this as well. So that's pretty good. You're going to get them. You will trigger all 7 links if you had the God and Blue version of him, because you'll have like Warrior Gods and such. So there is that. The new Trunks, sure, the new Trunks enters the game. Royal Lineage and Prepare for Battle are the absolute saviors and dream team on this. So yes, there's a huge compatibility between all the teams. The only downside is he's best when he fully transforms, like all the way through. All the way through is going to be his ideal one. We talk about Gifted Warriors. And we got the 2 new units on here. They're both pretty respectable. I think they've done a good job with this Vegeta. It's along the lines of Frieza and Goku, but it just feels a little bit extra. I feel like they've done a little bit more to keep up with 2024 because we're in the 9th era. Yes, it's the 8th year, but it's the 9th era of Dragon Ball, right? And again, there's a lot of overlap. In particular, Gifted Warriors and Heavenly Events have a little bit of wonkiness to them because there's a lot of like you got Piccolo, Frieza. These 2 qualify Super Saiyans, I suppose. More Piccolo. You got Zamasu in here, right? Which is a bit odd. And Heavenly Events, you got Boo, Garlic Jr. They don't really fit in. Gotenks doesn't fit in with these guys. So it's a bit wonky. But one thing you can find is Vegeta family and Mastered Evolution is really good. So coming in with Pure Saiyans, you could easily tag along this guy. You could tag along these. You could tag along him. I mean, most of this entire top row. This guy's pretty respectable. These 3 are fairly respectable. I believe Mastered Evolution, I think it's... This guy, I think, is a buff. Oh, no, he gets buffs from Mastered Evolution. This one's for all allies, and this one supports himself. Like, all of this here is fantastic. Like, this guy's still pretty respectable. The 7th anniversary units are still fairly respectable, right? So, if we're talking Mastered Evolution, this, with the introduction of this guy, and, well, in these 2, could be pretty good, right? Gifted Warriors, again, you kind of get the same feeling. You're going to struggle a little bit, because, you're trying to mash in Zamasu at the same time you're going to mash in Broly and Piccolo, which isn't really a thing, right? And the same principle as this. You could possibly make a team. There's a lot of decent people on this, but you might have to go half and half. You might have to, have a Boo rotation on one, and you'll have to have like a Vegeta family featuring Trunks and Vegeta on the other. It's really the only way. But Mastered Evolution and Pure Saiyans are going to be absolutely insane. Rapid Growth, sorry. So Rapid Growth could be a good one. It's mainly Saiyans. You can get a lot of respectable links of Saiyan links, like Saiyan Lineage, Saiyan Warrior Race, some key links, Fierce Battle, with the Universe 6 skills, right? So again, not really that much of a problem. Yeah, I think the only real downside would be these here. You're not going to get anything with this, and you're not likely to get anything with Hit. But again, you have a look at this, and you can see Saiyans, so potential Saiyan links. You see Trunks and in respects Vegeta family. So, pretty good altogether there. So, altogether, I'd say he's a really good unit. He's done well. But it's not the only Easy A we have. We now have this guy. So this guy's Easy A as well. So I think he's done fairly well for what he does. So previously, he had a little bit of stats, and his main thing was he just guaranteed crits against an android, right? So now we have 2 key 150%. So, we have 2 key, which really helps a unit like this, because any unit with key is automatically going to be more or less good in my books. You basically double. The more HP you have, the greater at the start, the greater the boost. So you're going to have quite a lot of that. So again, how you work out, you could be fairly respectable. You have 50% on super attack. Your super attack effect greatly stacks attack, and you get a 30% defense for the turn. And you seal. So seal already gives him a huge amount of use. So you have a 30% chance to crit and guaranteed additional, for which has a 30% chance to become a super if you have 50% or more HP, which will coincide with something like this. You guarantee crits against an android, brilliant, and a guaranteed super attack, a guaranteed another super attack against a cell. Again, you would greatly raise the attack and have a bit more defense, where applicable, seals. Could be really good. Fairly well built out. A good battlefield sub lead could be good for like stage 1 and 2. So you could have something good there. Speaking of links, they're more or less the same. Super Saiyan, Saiyan Pride, Golden Warrior are ones that you will see quite often. Royal Lineage again and Prepare for Battle going to be the absolute key, and Fierce Battle's the common integral that kind of holds them together, right? So this one we have Cell Saga, could be a pretty decent one for the superclass side. Gifted Warriors, Worthy Rivals, Heavenly Events, Mastered Evolution, and Rapid Growth coming in real nice. Does he have a place for Pure Saiyans or Super Saiyans? No, not really. We'd have to test out his numbers, right? But yeah, so again, you'll largely see it's the same deal. He has perhaps more Vegeta slapped in here. But again, it's not really a problem. They have 9 teams, 90. If you go down to the bottom, they still have 6 and 7 teams respective between them. So there's a huge amount of options here for playing these guys. Speaking of 55% at Easy A, he's coming in at just about 8,000 defense and a rather respectable 13,500 attack. That attack, when you're greatly stacking the attack with some crits in there, it's probably going to be fine. Defensively, he's probably going to be okay. He's an older unit, came out in 2019, so he is 5 years old. So say you're having Rainbow, we're looking at basically 11,000 defense and quite a decent 60,500 attack. At that point, he's probably looking at like the 5 to 6 million range, right? So that's pretty good. If you have him with one dupe, because he's old enough, 9,500 defense, more respectable. And then, of course, it's good attack. He's got good attack. And with this greatly stacked, he's not going to have a problem, is he? Vegeta, let's have a look at Vegeta. Coming in at 55%, the guy has 9,000. So it's more or less the same, right? So yeah, goes up to 18,000 attack. Wow, this guy is like LR level of attack. When you get to the final phase where like this is built up a bit more, like you get this is built up to 30%. Oof, he's going to be one of the harder hitting units in the game, pending on your orbs, right? 100% if you have this guy Rainbow, nearly 12,000 defense and a redonkulous 21,000 attack. Whoa. And he has a really this is like LR stats right here. This column. This is ridiculous. Okay, so really, really good. So even at 55, oh hell, 69%, the guy's touching like 8th anniversary units. He's touching Turlers at 55% on this. So he's doing well for himself. But yeah, so I'll just quickly also bring up how you actually do the EZAs. I believe this guy is sworn enemy, but I'm going to pause it so I can bring up because I don't actually quite know how you get his EZA. And you'll find that it is actually sworn enemies, and it's actually sworn enemies for the both of them. So you get all 30 stages. There's your 30 stones. Do it twice because there you go. They both have, you both need the medals, and yes, you'll only get enough for one. So good luck with that. You have to do everything twice. Woohoo! I'd say the one downside that they have missed on this is as you go through, right? He transforms to Super Vegeta. That's the halfway point. That's the normal, right? They awaken into their TUR. It'd have been fun if, as you go through, you face a different version. So, like, this could be Blue Vegeta. About here was God Vegeta, and so on and so forth. I feel like they missed the ball on that one. Bit of a design oversight. It's nothing really. I'm just nitpicking. But it'd been cool if you also faced through his transformations, right? So yeah, both of them will require sworn enemies for the best part. Now this can be a bit difficult because you have like androids, you have piccolos, you have boos, you have freezers. It's not easy picking out one of this. You could go margin power because you could quite easily put margin power. The only problem is let's say you chose him, you lose access to everyone else called Super Boo. Let's say you put Kid Buu in, you lose everyone access to Kid Buu. You lose him if you put him in, right? So it's a bit odd. If you put Transformation Boost in, which you could do, you could jerry pick a few people in here. So Transformation Boost would work with pretty much most people. Yes. So these are the sworn enemy leads. Honestly, you could work it because you got this Freezer. You have this golden Freezer, you have the physical transforming Freezer. You will lose access to this guy if you will have him as the lead. You'll have you'll have this one. You will lose the other golden Freezers, but you can have the physical transforming. You can have the int golden Freezer Angel, so you can have him, and you can have Freezer first form. So, but if you do that, you lose access to the other first forms like Tech Transforming Freezer, for example. But it's not really that bad. So again, your team could consist of these two. So that's two. You can have 3, you can have 4, you can have 5, and you can have 6, and someone else could be slapped on here to make 7. I'm not really. Oh, and 7 right here. So everyone on the team is on here. If you went for a transformation boost, yeah, sure. So you can go Super Boo. You can have this cell. You can have that cell slapped in. You can have this cell. So you can have first, second, and third form cell with a transformation boost. And then you can have a Kid Boo slapped onto here as well. So you could have Boo tanks. So you can arguably work. I've seen a lot of people go for Resurrected Warriors / Planetary Destruction from this guy. It's essentially the same team, just swap out the leaders, and that actually kind of works. So I think Freezer would be the best, but arguably you could also do Transformation Boost. There would be a few links that link them together, like Big Bad Bosses, but the Freezer link up better with key links and links in general, so you're probably better off with that. Anyway, this video's gone on long enough. So yes, we have 2 respectable EZAs. I like them both. Like, this guy's just a little bit better, right? They've given him just a little bit more. Like, they've upped his stats, and then they've given him this. Like, that bit alone is pretty decent. Given the ability to actually have a bit of defense in it and seal in his super attack. Did he do that before? No, he just greatly raised attack. And that's just for the turn as well. And like, this guy, he builds up. I mean, he's solid, right? You got to go first because he gets like a huge chunk of defensive value on super attack, and his attack comes from here. Yeah, there's no key, but if you work it right, you might be able. You're probably okay. But of course, don't be surprised if you don't get this. So yeah, depending of showcase value, he could be fantastic. But it might be frustrating because I'm telling you, 7 and 6 is a little on the difficult side to get to. But yes, I mean, I think about like, well, he's an orb changer, so that helps. But like, think about some other units. I think like AGL Kale is kind of one of them as well. She struggles if you don't get the relevant orbs, and there's a few others as well that do that, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching, and if you liked it, brilliant, and if you didn't, well, that sucks to be you. But hey, you lovely little sausages, it's time to go. So thank you very much, and bye bye.